Novak Djokovic has actually finally spoken out or broken his silence on the major controversies that surrounded him ahead of the 2022 Australian Open. Now, doubtless you would remember that he had gotten exemption for COVID-19 vaccine to actually be able to play in the Grand Slam, but unfortunately it was found that there was no legitimacy to his exemption, and then he was deported, sued the Australian government. It was a whole thing that happened and really distracted away from all of the attention that should have been going to the competitors on the court. This year around, Djokovic is back. He's not been, there's been no restrictions on vaccinated or unvaccinated players. So Djokovic is getting to play the Australian Open this time around. But unfortunately, it does seem like what all happened a year back is still something that has made a bit of an impact on him, because he was in a pretty combative mood during a recent press interaction and actually chose to say some very interesting things about the way he was let's say vilified within certain sections of the media. He's not very happy with, of course, how things went about, and he feels that he was unfairly maligned. So without further ado, let's just quickly look back at what exactly it is that he said in this particular time. Now, first off, he said that I was really drawn into a storm in the media that was related to COVID-19 and the vaccine. All of a sudden, I became the villain of the world. Now, naturally, what you can say is that he's right. He was cast as the villain of the world, but the main reason for that actually happening was because he had been spreading misinformation about the vaccine, saying that I won't be taking it, vaccines aren't good for you, this and that, all while saying that you shouldn't be avoiding. And he did say that I don't believe that if you want to take the vaccine, it's on you, but I personally won't take it. Unfortunately, it is worth noting that Djokovic is seen as a role model, so him saying something like that would have doubtless deterred a lot of people from taking the COVID-19 vaccine, and that explains why it is that he was quote-unquote made the villain of the world. But of course, that wasn't the only thing he had to say. He did also hit out at the media in general, beyond even this, if it seems possible. He said that I wanted to stay here and play tennis, here being Australia, but at some point, with the amount of craziness going around, I just wanted to get out and go back home. So naturally, you'd remember that he fought very hard to actually be able to play in the Australian Open, because when he arrived, he was taken in by Australia's immigration authorities. He did say that, look, I have an exemption. When he was actually deported, he sued the government. He wanted to be able to play in Australia really badly, but it seems pretty clear that whatever it has happened did impact his mental health in some ways. He said that, look, after a point I was like, look, I just want to go home. I can't be, dealing with this at this point. Now, you can disagree with whatever it is that he has to say. I personally am not a fan of his opinions, let's say, on the vaccine. But, I can understand how it is that this entire thing would have become a massive sideshow, but it was an entirely avoidable one. All he had to do was get the jab. Any which way, beyond that, he's also said some more things. He said that, look, the media has picked on me for several months, so that has created a lot of disturbance to my brand and to me personally and people around me. Now, again, picked on him seems a bit of a stretch. He was only criticized for spreading misinformation on a vaccine at a time when the world was still dealing with the worldwide, the coronavirus pandemic. And truth be told, it's 2023. We're still dealing with the pandemic and still living with it. It's not really a case of the pandemic going away or the virus going away. Yes, it's a lot different to what it used to be in 2020. But 2020 was a very different time. You still had no idea what was going on. And truth be told, the vaccine has, in fact, helped people, start moving around. And it has helped normalize the virus in some extent. Obviously, not to an entirety, because what is happening in Wuhan right now. China is struggling still to deal with COVID, and other countries also are being hit with waves. But overall, you'd say the outlook in 2023 is much better than what it was in 2020. And one of the reasons for that is, in fact, mass vaccination. Exact thing that Djokovic was speaking out against and encouraging people, saying that, what, I don't believe in vaccines. I take care of what it is that goes into my body. Saying something that would obviously sway the minds of a lot of people who look up to Djokovic as an idol and a role model. But unfortunately for all of this, Djokovic has in fact taken on the unfortunate let's say role. He's playing the role as someone who was victimized through all of this. And truth be told, obviously there was a lot of inconsistency with the way he was dealt with. He was first given an exemption, then told no, the exemption doesn't count, deported. There's a lot of things that would take a toll on anyone, but was also avoidable if all he had to do was actually get vaccinated. He obviously still hasn't gotten vaccinated because his views from back then still hold very firm with him today. He said that I'm okay missing, whether it be tennis, whether it be anything around the world, if they are closing their borders to me because of my vaccination status, I'm okay with it. This is about my principles. So he's choosing to live by those principles, and unfortunately he will be vilified for those principles. But if you're Djokovic at this point, the main focus would be to make your tennis do the talking. Whether or not he can do that, though, something we'll only know once it is time for the Australian Open to get underway. That is it from this video on our end at Sports Today. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment, tap the bell icon. Also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Last but not least, don't forget to download the AajTak app. Thank you all once again for joining us. I hope to see you with us today, but for now,